Good morning and welcome to the 21st Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Human Rights and Prayer Breakfast. I am Sandra Lee Williams, President of the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council and also Deputy Political Director for the Retail Wholesale Department Store Union. And with me, my co-chair,
Eric Richardson. I'm the Executive Director of the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council and the President of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists.
So again, welcome to our 21st Dr. Martin Luther King Human Rights and Prayer Breakfast. We are indeed supported by you and are very blessed to have you here with us. Please excuse us for a little bit of the chaos around finding seats, but everybody will have a good time this morning. I am certain of it. So when we considered our theme for this year, we had a lot of different thoughts about what that theme would be.
Yeah, we had a lot of different ideas. Stronger together.
We will survive, as in the seating in this room.
Union strong, because we'll always figure it out.
But the more we talked, the more we understood is that the dream continues. And so does the work.
And so does the work. Over the last 12 months, can everybody hear me in the back? Okay, the volume's up. All right. Over the last 12 months, we witnessed high voter turnout, although the outcome was not what we expected. But we will remain resilient. We added more Democratic elected officials in Georgia. So we have much to be thankful for, but our work, the work we love, continues.
Today, you're going to hear from a number of speakers today, from our community leaders to our elected officials, our partners, and of course, our labor members and labor leaders. And we could not be prouder. Would you please give yourselves a round of applause? We hope that you'll enjoy this celebration of the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. We also want you to relax, make new acquaintances, and form alliances that will take us into a better Atlanta and a better Georgia. We have power, we have purpose, and this is our opportunity to make a difference. Regardless of election outcomes, and we know we have municipal races coming up this year, so Georgia is a state that is never without an election, right? But we work very, very hard to make sure that our working families are represented by those folks that feel that everyone deserves a right to equitable pay and benefits, fair housing. So that's why we're here today. We uplift working families, we love the work that we do, and we must continue. So with that, I want to make sure that we recognize President Yvonne Taylor Brooks, President of the Georgia AFL-CIO. I don't see James Williams. Is he here today? No? Okay. President Emeritus Richard Ray. I see our Regional Director, Charles Clark, is here with us today. Now, I'm not going to call everybody's name because we'd be here all day, okay? I do want to recognize the board members of the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council. Please stand if you're, would they stand? And I also, from my union family, want to recognize President Eric Taylor with UFCW Local 1996. So we want to now acknowledge truly all of the labor affiliates that make up the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council. We could not do this work without you. But last and certainly not least, the person that we next want to lift up is Matt Higdon, president of Local 728. We want to thank him for the use of this beautiful facility, and always, the generous support that they provide to the Labor Council. Words just can't express our gratitude. Thank you. So please join me in applauding Matt Higdon, Secretary Treasurer Wes Turner, Chuck Stiles, Vice President Vicki Beaver, she's also our Vice President on the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council, and all the men and women of Local 728. Thank you. So there's one person up here with us that you may remember from last year, perhaps. She is an acclaimed actress. Her dad was with us last year and would be sitting at the NFLPA table if he was here, but he's not. That would be Craig Bingham. So Margot Bingham has agreed to come and be our mistress of ceremony, and so please join us.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good. Before I begin speaking today, I would like to bring up an amazing gentleman that I got a chance to meet face-to-face yesterday. Now, this man is no stranger to y'all because we are in his house, which was chartered back in 1937, which is incredible. Even as I grabbed his bio last night, he said, and I know I'm embarrassing him, but he said, "I do what I do for Teamsters, not titles." With 36 years and counting under his belt, served as a UPS union steward for 14 years, always making sure that everyone gets a seat at the table. Elected as Teamsters Local 728 President Principal Officer in 2019, still holding that title. Currently holds a position as Vice President Trustee of IBT Joint Council 75 and IBT Package Division National Grievance Panel Coordinator. Amen. Please give it up for our main host, Matt Higdon.
All right, welcome. Y'all awake? Welcome to 728. We thank you for that wonderful introduction. There's my brother right there, Mr. Thurman. I got to hug this man's neck. But we want to welcome all of you. Thank you for making your way out. It is an absolute honor and privilege to have you in Local 728's House of Labor. And let me just touch on that a little bit. If you'll notice out front, some people make fun of me and they say, why? Our sign out in the front on the edge of the street is Weldon Mathis Labor Complex. We've never put Local 728 on any of these walls or doors for one reason. This is our home, yes, and we're proud of our Local 728 home. We moved in here 2 years ago. We've been here since about 1956. Tearing down our old building was bittersweet, but we built this building to be a house of labor, and we're honored and privileged to have all of our affiliates here today, and this is the very thing we built it for. So I'll be very brief. I just want to welcome everyone again to Teamsters Local 728. Welcome to all of our labor affiliates that we've already heard mentioned, community leaders, elected officials, friends, fellow union leaders, and certainly all of the clergy that are in our presence today. We welcome you here at Local 728. I want to say a special welcome to all of our Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council, their executive board. I want to say thank you to Sandra Williams, the president. I want to say thank you. Thank you to Eric Richardson, the executive director. And I am honored to have the relationship that we have anytime that I need someone to come help me or someone to hit the picket line or walk or put some pressure on the company. I know that I can call you guys, and I also know for sure when I reach out to the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council, to Sandra and Eric, they're always there. So thank you. I appreciate that. Y'all give them a big round. And just for the record, now I'm not trying to be stingy here, but you know, anytime, Sandra, that you guys want to have this MLK breakfast here, it's yours, okay, for future times. So just know that. Now we're here to celebrate and honor the life and legacy of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I'm not even going to attempt to start talking about all the accolades and all that he means to each and every one of us here in this room. He is one of the greatest men that God has ever graced us with and created here on this earth. And I'm very honored to be here this morning to lift him up. But I do want to mention one thing before I sit down. And if you want to put that up on the screen, brother, there we are. Some of you might be wondering what this is. But in my 36 and a half year career and member of this local that I'm very proud to have been a member of since day one, back on April 4th, I was granted by our General President, Sean O'Brien, one of the absolute highest honors and one of the greatest achievements that I've ever been able to take part in my Teamster career. And I'm going to read the letter so you'll understand what you see up on the screen today that was sent to me on April the 4th, 2023, from General President of the Teamsters, Sean M. O'Brien. It says, "Be it known on this day, Tuesday, April the 4th, 2023, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters is proud to formally induct Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as a member of Teamsters Local Union number 728 from his hometown, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. King was tragically assassinated 55 years ago while supporting organized sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee, on strike for fair wages and better treatment in the workplace. Dr. King was a staunch supporter of workers' rights who devoted his life to advancing civil rights and racial justice. In doing so, he built relationships with many of our Teamster brothers and sisters and spent countless hours marching alongside them. Our union, now home to more than 1.2 million hardworking Americans, is immeasurably stronger for having stood alongside Dr. King. His legacy continues to inspire our work and spurs us forward each and every day. It is a distinct honor of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters and our General Executive Board to induct the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King as a member of Teamsters Local Union number 728. With this great organization and around the world, Dr. King's struggle for justice, equality, and workers' rights carries on. And let me tell you, the highlight of my 36-year career thus far was putting my name on the bottom of his union card. And so let's all give everybody in this room a round of applause. And before I sit down, we have this displayed in the wonderful shadow box. We have this letter frame. We have a letter from Jimmy Hoffa back in the day to Dr. King that's displayed in my office. If any of you would like to see that after the festivities come over, and please take a look at it. We also have it displayed at our IBT offices, the same card in a shadow box there for all the world to see as they come in and out. God bless you. Welcome to Local 728.
Well, I am thrilled to be back here for yet again another year to spend this breakfast and morning with you all. I am a proud member of SAG-AFTRA. Thank you. Amongst many other shows, I've had the opportunity of having an amazing career that I'm very, very grateful and very lucky to have. One of the incredible shows that I was a part of brought me to Georgia, and I'm thankful every day. That show was a little show called The Walking Dead. And I moved here for that. And as I was coming in today, I was I was thinking about solidarity and the importance of community, and it really brought up an amazing song that came to mind, and I was going to ask if you don't mind if I sing it for you. Is that okay? Okay. And if you know this, please sing along. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, lest I stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Now I'm going to stop singing because we have a treat. We have a treat. And it only makes sense that one of the incredible students that's about to join us, or all of the incredible students, but one of them has a mother who has a passion for helping young people organize and help to lift and build power in marginalized communities. Erica Clemens Dean. Family values at work, 9 to 5 Georgia, is that woman. And as with all incredible, resilient mothers, come even more fierce daughters. Now, unfortunately, her daughter Paige was not able to make it today because she was sick, but her friends are here with us as well. So I would like to bring a warm welcome to the Dutchtown High School Chorus.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word, and the Word, and the Word was God.
Keep giving it up for Dutchtown High School Chorus. Beautiful. Also, another announcement. There is a QR code on your table, and just letting you know that that is for the ad book. Our next leader is an Atlanta native, and having been led by civil rights icon Ralph Abernathy Sr., please join us in prayer with our very own Atlanta Labor Council executive, former board member, the preacher man himself, Bishop Greg Phan.
Oh, yeah, it's good to be in the house of labor. Let us pray. God, you've been our help in ages past. You are our hope for years to come. You are our shelter from the stormy blast. And certainly you are our eternal home. God, we come before you today, calling on you who have all power of heaven and earth in your hand. God, we know, God, the things that's going on in the world. People are upset about certain situations, but we know, God, you're in control of all situations. And for that, we say thank you. Now, God, we pray for the leaders of this labor movement that stand on the wall, that have the courage to stand up for the least, the less, and the left out. Continue to give them what they need, both emotionally, most physically. And God, we thank you for our leader, who was a man of God, who had courage, who stood up for injustice and righteousness. Let us continue in that work and that vision. Let us stay strong. Let us stay together. Let us stay committed to the cause. In your name we pray. Everyone say amen.
I ask you, dear sir, to have patience with all that is unresolved in your heart and to try to love the questions themselves. Like closed rooms, like books written in foreign language. Don't try to find the answers now. They cannot be given anyway, because you would not be able to live with them, for everything is to be lived. Live the questions now. Perhaps you then may gradually, without noticing, one day in the future, live into the answers. Our next leader read this Rilke quote a few years ago on one of her many meditations, and it still hits me every time I hear it. Working with multi-faith initiatives and social justice centers, gracing us with a word during so much uncertainty, I'd like to welcome Rabbi Lydia Medwin.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Rabbi Lydia Medwin, and I'm honored to be here with you representing the Temple, a Reformed Jewish congregation on Peachtree here in Midtown Atlanta. We are the oldest Jewish community in Atlanta and the largest in the southeast of the United States, and it is an honor to get to be here with you again, I believe for the 4th year in a row. Yes, woo! My grandfather was in a union, and my Jewish history teaches me about what it means to lead in unions and for labor. And having been here with you now for this 4th year, I'm starting to feel like a little bit at home here. It's good to see y'all. 4th year, a tumultuous 4th year, 4 years. I don't have to tell you that things haven't always gone smoothly over the past 4 years. I think about those incredible students that were just here. Y'all, can we give it up one more time for those amazing students? But when we think about these kids, they have only known a time of the first Trump term, a global pandemic, climate events that have been biblical in scope, democracy threatening to fray at the seams, wars around the world, and now the prospect of another 4 years of unpredictability and extremism. And yet, here we are. And we are so blessed to have woken up this morning. I'm hoping you'll be willing to learn 2 words in another language this morning. Y'all ready? Ready for this? It's in Hebrew. First one is modeh. Say it with me. Modeh. And the second is ani. Ani. You have just said, I am grateful. I am grateful. Modeh ani. Let's say it together. We are so blessed to have woken up this morning and made it here. Modeh ani. To gather together with friends new and old. Modeh ani, to celebrate the work that you do every day towards justice and fairness. Modeh ani, we give thanks to you. These unions and your work embody the vision of Dr. King, who also lived in dark and tumultuous times, and who also found a way through the darkness. Against all odds, against evidence pointing towards hopelessness and despair, he was certain and unshakable about his hope for this future. He knew there would be a way through. Now, hope and optimism are not the same things. I had the honor and privilege of having a sabbatical these past 5 months. I got to live in Jerusalem, and my friends, if you were to ask me today, do you feel optimistic about the folks and the situation in Israel and Gaza and the West Bank? I would say optimism is not the word I would use. That is a region that is not for the faint of heart. But when people ask me, do I feel hopeful? My answer is a resounding yes. And that is because, as Rabbi Jonathan Sachs taught us, hope and optimism are not the same. Optimism is the belief that the world is sort of automatically trending toward the better. Hope is the belief that together we make the world better. Optimism is a passive virtue. Hope is an active one. It needs no courage to be an optimist, but it takes a great deal of courage to hope. The Bible, my friends, is not an optimistic book. It is, however, one of the great literatures of hope. There are many people living in that region where I just came from that are full of hope. And in regions of conflict around the world and right here in the United States, there are so many who see that the world does not change for the better by itself. But there are those who are working for that every single day. They understand that it is we who can make the world a better place. Our future, our teens who have already endured so much, our elders who have worked hard their whole lives, they demand from us courage and creativity and compassion. And these are ultimately actions of hope, inspired by our sacred texts, bolstered by being shoulder to shoulder together. We are always, if we choose, marching towards hope together. And so let us pray. May we ever be grateful, modeh ani. May we ever choose hope. May we choose it together. And God, may you help us continue to fight for a better tomorrow. We say together, amen.
What a beautiful gift that we get to give thanks and share with respect all of our common values this morning. And with that, I would like to call on our imam, Imam Plenem Masjid.
Sami Imam Pleeman El-Amin. The best introduction I can give of myself is that I went to Booker T. Washington High School with Bishop Greg Fan. There's a verse in Quran that says, when my servants ask you concerning me, this is God speaking, when my servants ask you concerning me, tell them I am indeed close. I listen to the prayer of every suppliant. When he or she calls upon me, let them also with a will listen to my call and believe in me, that they may walk on the straight and upright path. Let us pray. Oh God, we know that you are never absent, always present, and listening to our sincere prayers. You are the Lord of the universe and everything and everybody that exists. We ask that you bless our gathering once again this morning as we commemorate the life and the legacy of our drum major for justice, our drum major for peace, our drum major for decency and dignity, and the obligations that he left upon us. Bless us to be in step and in tune with the leadership he lived among us and the legacy he left. Bless us to continue to combat with our collective strengths and our labors the three evils of militarism, extreme materialism, and racism that still plague our nation and our world. Help us, oh God, to see and understand that the time is still now. As Dr. King said then, now is still the time to lift our nation and our state and our counties out of the quicksand of racism and injustice and onto the solid rock of human decency and dignity. Oh God, bless us to work with both of our hands as Dr. King did. With one hand, he said he was working to touch and change individual souls so that change will come to society, while at the same time, on the other hand, he worked to change society directly so that individual souls will have a chance. Oh God, bless this union. Bless the AFL-CIO. Bless all of labor, the leaders and the members, to continue to be lighthouses, because darkness won't drive out darkness, only light can. To continue to be lighthouses because ignorance can't drive out ignorance, only knowledge, only training, only skills, only expertise can. May you, each of you, continue to lift every voice, straighten every back, focus every mind, open every heart, engage everybody, and inspire every soul as we continue to march behind and beside our drum major. As this union and its labor members work to clothe the naked, feed the hungry, build homes for the homeless, heal the sick, free the oppressed, free the ignored, the overlooked, and the forgotten, then will our living, our life, and our legacy and our union will never be in vain. Oh God, surely we live in challenging and difficult days and times, but remind us that you place no burden on us greater than we have the strength to bear. May each of us believe, as Dr. King did, that what self-centered men tear down, other-centered men and women can build up. That to ignore evil is to become an accomplice to it. That if we are to have peace on earth, our loyalties must transcend our tribe, our class, our race, our nation. We must, he said, develop a world perspective. That we are called to be people of conviction, not conformity, people of moral nobility, not just societal acceptance, We are commanded to live according to a higher loyalty and to know that God is bigger and greater than even our best estimates. So we ask, oh God, we ask you to continue to stir our souls, expand our hearts, enlighten our minds, broaden our work, deepen our influence, and give us the strength and fortitude to fulfill our mission and our calling to serve and empower this society, its youth, its elderly, our people, our community, and our legacy for the benefit of everyone we touch. To you, Almighty, belongs the thanks, the praise, and the glory, and to you go our prayers. Amen. Thank you.
I'd like to call for tables 1 through 6. This is now your time to go and get some yummy food. And we're going to have a video of our dear Mayor Dickens.
Good morning, everyone. Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens here, and I'm honored to join you as we celebrate the remarkable life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. While I can't be with you in person today, I'm grateful to be part of this meaningful occasion. The theme of today's event, Stronger Together, resonates deeply with me as we continue working to realize Dr. King's dream and build the beloved community. Dr. King once said, "Love is creative and redemptive. Love builds us up and unites. Hate tears down and destroys." We are truly stronger together, and the work of the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council is pushing us toward the future Dr. King envisioned. We're working to make Atlanta a city of opportunity for all, reflecting our commitment to equitable and inclusive labor practices. Dr. King was a staunch supporter of organized labor and workers' rights, and I stand by that legacy. That's why we formed the first ever Atlanta Department of Labor and Employment Services to ensure our city has labor services that benefit all our workers. Our collaboration with the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council has been key, and I'm grateful for the impact of groundbreaking programs like the Good Jobs Initiative, ensuring that everyone has equitable access to opportunities for success. I'm thankful for this time of year when we reflect upon Dr. King's global legacy. It helps us to start the year united, mindful of his vision, and reminds us that we're all part of the beloved community. We are stronger together. Thank you.
Today we take stock of the extraordinary life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all his work to bend the arc of the moral universe towards justice and change the racial landscape in our nation for all Americans. So much of Dr. King's work was centered around actualizing the vision to create the beloved community, a world where everyone, regardless of race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic background, is loved and treated as an equal. A world where someone is judged based on the content of their character. Despite being born a year after his passing, Dr. King has played a huge role in my life. I often say that he posthumously recruited me to Morehouse College. And now every Sunday, I preach from the same pulpit he once did at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. But it is continuing to build Dr. King's vision of the beloved community that guides my work as a United States Senator. From working to provide people with basic health care, to pushing back against those who try to obstruct the sacred right to vote. From fighting the epidemic of gun violence in our schools, to providing folks with affordable housing, and so much more, this work is never done. And today, as we celebrate Dr. King and all he stood for, it is important to remember that people cannot remember Dr. King and dismember his legacy at the same time by trying to undermine everything he fought for. Dr. King is Georgia's greatest son and one of the nation's greatest heroes. So as we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today, we have to keep in mind his vision of the beloved community in everything we do, not just today, but every single day. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. keep the faith, and keep looking up.
Greetings, this is Senator John Ossoff, and I wish I could be with you in person today as we celebrate, contemplate, and recommit to the legacy and principles that Dr. King lived and fought for, along with all those who struggled alongside him in the movement for civil and human rights. Today we recommit ourselves to building here and around the world the beloved community, where we recognize that our shared humanity is the most important thing, and that prejudice, bias, racism, violence, and war are folly. Only by recommitting to each other's shared humanity can we build that beloved community for which Dr. King strove, with so many alongside him, and for which we continue to strive. As we celebrate and honor this day, whether in church or through service projects across the state of Georgia and across the nation and around the world, let this be a day not of rest, but of consideration, self-reflection, and giving back, of recommitting in this year to doing all we can, staying true to the values that Dr. King lived and died for, and for which he still stands. If ever I can be of assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out, as always, at ossoff.senate.gov. Thank you, and God bless.
So next, we're going to hear from somebody who's very near and dear to my heart. You see him weekly on the Georgia game. He is an alum and board member of Clark Atlanta University. Can I have everybody's attention? So I know my nephew is here somewhere. Theron Johnson, can you join me up here?
I would be remiss if I did not recognize a few people. I know we're here today to support labor and the role that you all play in this growing economy, but Dr. King said it best. He said you cannot have economic prosperity without labor unions. And so as we know, you're going to hear today the role that he not only played, and Matt showed us the card, but we need that type of unified sort of approach and partnership today. But beyond being on television and on the radio, I am a lobbyist down in the state capitol, and I want to take a moment to recognize everyone who's here today who is currently serving the state legislature. I want you to stand. But I would specifically want to recognize Viola Davis, Sandra Scott, and Kim Schofield. They honored, let's give them a round of applause. I bug them, I give them money, I tell them when they right, and I tell them when they wrong, but I even tell them when they right, when they wrong. But more importantly, as Dewey McClain just wanted me to say, they honored a person today that was no stranger to labor, who was a big, big supporter of labor. He was a staunch advocate for labor rights and people, women and men on the front line. That's our late Senator Vincent Ford. And so they commemorated him today at the state capitol. Let's give Vincent a hand. So as I close, you guys are going to hear from a keynote speaker this morning or this afternoon, depending on how long we go here today. But you're going to hear from a keynote speaker this morning, someone who I've known for over 40 years. He is definitely a person who supports labor not only through his career, but also in his personal time. But Sandra and Eric, thank you all so much for what you all do down at the state capitol and around this great state. And I will tell you all this, whether it's on television, privately, radio, you guys always have my support. And I see my good friend Helen Butler over there and others. There's every campaign that I've been a part of, Jason Estevez, organized labor has always been with me. And I want to thank you all so much for standing with so many people like myself who have a role to play, whether it's on television or in the community, but more importantly, the elected officials that you all have been able to put in office and hold them accountable. So God bless you and happy MLK Day.
Playing a vital role in upholding justice and public safety while building a system for Fulton County that is, quote, smart, fair, and restorative. The social engineer himself, a familiar face at this breakfast, it is my pleasure to introduce Solicitor General Keith Gamage.
Good morning, beloved. So great to be here as we commemorate the life and legacy and powerful commitment of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As I look around, I see America. I would ask us just to take a look. Look at the beautiful, handsome, strong, young, seasoned people in this room. We see America, and we are united today in love. I want to thank President Matt Higdon, Teamsters Local 728, for their work each day, but for particularly inviting us and hosting us here today for this breakfast celebration. I want to thank my dear friend, President Sandra Williams, Brother Eric Richardson, and all of the labor leaders. The tag in my vest says, Union Made. I'm the son of a former steel mill worker from the plantations of Mississippi who moved to Indiana to find a better life for his family. And at that time, my dad's 87, at that time, labor unions made sure as best they could that all people got equity, fair opportunities for jobs. And then my parents moved to Atlanta. And somehow I became interested in law and became a lawyer. And along the way, I became friends and really a brother to labor. And I learned a lot and continue to learn from labor. I know in organized labor, there's something and a time called the retooling time. You all know about retooling? It's when you take a moment and you pause and you reflect on your processes and you see how to renew them and improve. I looked up the regular labor, not organized labor, not union-related labor, but just labor in Webster's dictionary. And it says labor is to work and make great effort. It says labor is to have difficulty. It says labor is to assert and exert physical and mental effort, especially when strength is required. It says to toil, to exert body and mind to the point of pain to achieve results. And so as we reflect on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his labors and the labor of everyone who surrounded him and put hands and hearts together so that we might have a better nation, I would remind us and call us to continue to work together and labor, even to the point, beloved, of pain for results. One of the first things we did in partnership with the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council is we had a record restriction and an expungement. And without getting political, you all, even though I'm an elected Democrat prosecutor, and wouldn't be in office in my third term without organized labor. Thank you. One of the first things we did is we locked arms together and focused not on a platform, but on a philosophy that said people should have a second chance at success. And at the IBW building and other labor halls and unions, we began to have people come up and we partnered with government and labor. We expunged and restricted 20,000 records together with labor. I won't mention the convictions. I won't mention the convictions of the individual that will be sworn in as we celebrate in our nation the birth and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I won't mention those convictions. But what I will commit to and announce here for the first time, that April, the month in which our Savior, our earthly Savior, Dr. King was taken from us, we are going to have a social justice and second chance month. I'm going to ask our labor friends to partner with us. On April 4th or April 5th, I hope that we can come back to this great labor hall or another. I'm going to ask all of the metro, in fact, all of the prosecutors in Georgia to open their hearts and minds to record restrictions. And we're going to host one at some labor hall in April. And every single workday in the month of April of this year, we're going to provide free criminal records. And in the month of April of this year, as we call it and claim it Social Justice and Second Chance Month, we're going to seek to erase at least 3,700 records. I hope you all will join me as we do that. It is a commitment. We'll count those numbers and we'll deliver on that promise. Thank you so much. Again, I'm Keith Gamage, Fulton County Solicitor General.
Next, I'm going to ask Vicki Beavers to join me up here on the stage. She is a vice president for the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council and an international representative for the Teamsters. Thank you.
Hello, labor. Hey, solidarity forever. Yes. All right. I have the honor of introducing my father. He is a retired employee of General Motors. He retired in 1989, a proud member of UAW, United Auto Workers, retired. He once spoke to have Martin Luther King Day, and at that time they didn't get it. But look at where we are today. Look at where we are today. And right now it is my honor to appreciate a man that I've heard speak so many years, and it's just influenced me and others. And I now present my dad, Joseph Preston Beavers.
Dr. King was my mentor, and I loved him, and I learned all of his sermons and all of his speeches, and here's one I like to do. A man shouldn't do right because there's a condition called heaven. A man shouldn't do right because there's a condition called hell. A man should do right because it's right to do right. Surely, the Bible says, there shall be wars and rumors of wars. But it doesn't mean you go around and you bomb people's houses and the rice fields with napalm bombs. America's the most violent nation on earth. And we have come to a point where we are forced to grapple with the problem that men have been trying to grapple with throughout history. But the demands didn't force them to do it. But now survival demands that we grapple with this problem. Men for years have been talking about war and peace. But no longer can they just talk about it. No longer their choice between violence and nonviolence is nonviolence or non-existence, and that is where we are today. And in this human rights revolution, if something isn't done, and done in a hurry, to bring the colored people of this world out of their long years of poverty, out of their long years of hurt and neglect, then the whole world is doomed. Now, if I lived in China or Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic human rights. Maybe I could understand the denial of the First Amendment privileges because they hadn't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read freedom of speech. Somewhere I read freedom of the press. Somewhere I read freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read that America's greatness is in her right to protest far right. So we're moving on. And we ain't gonna let no dogs and no water hoses turn us around. We're moving on. In these days, we have a powerful challenge to make America a great nation, and we're moving on. And I just want to thank God one more time for allowing me to be here with you tonight. I don't know what's going to happen now. We got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. And like any man, I'd like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And God has allowed me to go to the mountaintop. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. And I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Amen.
I had the honor of meeting this lovely woman last year, a board member of MARTA, president of Communication Workers of America Retired Members Council. She is no stranger to community activism and lobbying on behalf of workers and workers' rights. Please give a warm welcome to Rita Scott.
Good morning. Let freedom ring from the top of Stone Mountain. I live in Stone Mountain. And every time I pass through the city of Stone Mountain where they have installed the Freedom Bell there on Main Street, I think about the mayor of Stone Mountain, an African-American female. Stand up and raise your hand, Madam Mayor. I think about how Dr. King would feel if he had the honor of knowing the mayor of Stone Mountain. And I can't leave out the mayor of Stonecrest, because if not, she'll beat me up when I leave here. That's my niece. Madam Mayor, how ironic that my security guard here is the president of the Transit Workers Union. So when I sit on that MARTA board of directors and I look out when they have the time for the public to speak, I think about my sisters and brothers in the union. And I cannot leave out my former CEO of DeKalb County, who appointed me to the MARTA board of directors. And as a result, we've grown certain things. Now we've established a disadvantaged business and equity roundtable to talk to women that have the ability to run their own business, but they did not have the ability to become contractors and receive contracts within transit, and now they do. So we've done many things to make sure that we support working people. The thing I want to tell you more than anything else is that it's not over. I've been talking to the Lord about what we're going to do when we get a certain person in office, and all over the country, transit is wondering what we're going to do. But I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to continue what we've been doing. We're going to pray a little harder. I was in a meeting the other day, and I'm going to take the spiritual side of me and let it come out. And I told them, I said, we got to remember that when Peter was in jail and the women wouldn't stop praying, and they prayed so until the Lord told the angel, say, I'm tired of them women out there keep bothering me about Peter being in jail. Go down there, move and put them to sleep, and let Peter out of jail. Labor is coming out of jail. Labor is coming out of jail. If they don't know who we are, we will let them know who we are. Somebody said, let freedom ring. We're going to let it ring because we know who we are. This is our year. And all over this country, they will know that we are labor. Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are. So we tell them, we are the union, the mighty, mighty union.
I swear, every single speaker that comes up here, I get more and more inspired. I don't know about y'all, but we have an incredible woman coming up. It is truly an honor to introduce a remarkable individual who embodies the spirit of service and dedication that we celebrate today and throughout this weekend. Deborah Scott is the CEO of Georgia Stand Up, a powerhouse organization that uplifts families, strengthens communities across Georgia. Her work reflects a deep commitment to equity, justice, and empowering everyday people to have a voice and a seat at the table. Through her leadership, Georgia Stand Up has become a beacon of hope, a catalyst of change, making a real difference in lives of countless families. And though I have not had the pleasure of meeting her until today, her reputation as a tireless advocate for working for families speaks volumes. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the inspiring Deborah Scott.
All right, family. So you know the question I'm going to ask, right? When our rights are under attack, what will we do? I can't hear you. Only this part of the room knew the answer. So they gave you the answer. When our rights are under attack, what will we do? What will we do? Yes. So how are we going to do that? When in the middle of an election, some of us got our butts beat, right? Yeah. And so now we have to recover from that. But part of what we have to do as the beloved community is to remember the love part. Beloved, it's the love. We do it for the love of the people. So you can't get tired. And if you get tired, that's okay, rest. And so we're calling right now, your first assignment is to rest. Can you do that? Rest. You need to rest for your own resistance. You need to rest for the movement because we need you on the battlefield. We need you in the middle of the battle. We need you at the Capitol. We need you in the streets. We need you in each and every county that we're in. It's about labor. It's about community. It's about our churches. It's about faith-based organizations. It's about social justice organizations working together. Can we do that? Can we do it for real? Because I don't know about you, but I'm a little tired. So if you
did a text or did a text message or a phone call? Raise your hand. You made some phone calls during the campaign, did some text messages. How about door knocking? You did some door knocking? Yeah. How about worksite flyers and worksite conversations? Yeah. Did you do voter registration as well? I see you, Helen. Did y'all do voter registration? Did you knock on doors? Did you talk to people? And did you say that worker power is people power? And we have to get out and vote. Right. Okay, we did it all, right? And where's the 92%? Black women, stand up. Black women, stand up. So as they're standing up, I want you to thank a black woman, the 92% that voted the right way, that consistently turned out, that knocked on doors, that called people, that did all the things. Melanie Campbell, I see you. National Council of Black Civic Participation, thank you for leading us nationally. Thank you. Helen Butler for the Georgia Coalition of the People's Agenda and Black Women's Roundtable, thank you. Black Men Initiative, thank you. Jobs with Justice, thank you. Georgia, stand up, thank you. Trade up and build up and we vote, we win, thank you. So this is what losing looks like. Losing looks like we gather together and we rinse and repeat and we say we're going to do it better next time. Losing looks like analyzing why we lost. We collectively, because we're nonpartisan. Why did we lose? What happened here in Georgia? Question, where was the money for the nonprofit organizations on the ground? We have questions, but we can't get tired of doing good work because in order for this world to be better, the beloved community starts right here. This is the day to recommit yourself. This is the day to make sure that we continue to make a difference because our workers depend on it. We're Teamsters, thank you. Thank you for being on the front line. Delta workers, thank you for being on the front line. Starbucks workers, thank you for being on the front line. Hospital workers, thank you for being on the front line. Gig economy, thank you for being on the front line. But this is the time for organized labor to continue to organize. And so I come from labor, I'm a labor family. Shout out to my husband, Lorenzo Scott, who made me a labor wife. But I was labor at born labor. But I'm community, always. And I'm a black woman every day. And so what we need to do is have some difficult conversations in nice, small rooms so we can talk about what happened. Because if we don't do the analysis, we'll do it again. If we don't figure out that we really needed to have worksite conversations, one-on-one conversations at the door about what's important to them, that we needed to talk to Ms. Johnson about her kitchen table issues and her health care bills, and we needed to talk to Bob about how he needs to get a good job, and we need to talk to Tyrone about how we're going to get him in IT, right? We need to make sure we have these real conversations, but before we do that, we have to rest and take care of our families. We have to take care of ourselves because for the next 3.5 years, it's on. Is it on? I think we have a governor in the room, I don't know, but we might have a governor in the room. Our job is to hold every one of these elected officials accountable from top to bottom, and it all starts locally. So if you are in a small town, if you're in a county, this is our year. Municipal elections are this year. That means everybody who's seeking those labor checks and those labor endorsements, make sure you check with the community to make sure how their real politics are, right? Because we cannot no longer give checks over here and then beat the community over here, saying that we have a labor candidate but not a people's candidate. We want both. That's what the beloved community deserves. It is time for us to not just organize, we have to strategize and stop working in silos. This is the time, because guess what? Our lives, our future, our children's lives depend on us. Look around. Nobody's coming to rescue us. It's us. So what are we going to do? So when our lives are under attack, what will we do? I said, what will we do? Yes, we're going to stand up and fight back for the beloved community because we deserve it. Because we deserve it. Because we deserve it. Because we deserve it. Why do we deserve it? Because we have worked hard, haven't we? Some of you have been in the labor movement for 40 and 50 years. Say, hey, if that's you. The question is, are we passing it on to the next generation? Are we teaching them how to knock on doors? Are we teaching them how to have conversations? Are we teaching them how to really strategize? So now it's our turn to make sure that the next and the now generation gets what they're supposed to have. It's up to us. So Martin Luther King Jr. crafted or Thomas Merton did, but Martin Luther King popularized the beloved community. And I submit it starts right here. The whole world is going to continue to watch Georgia. The beloved community starts right here. We are here. We're going to be here. We're going to rinse and repeat. We're going to organize, mobilize, strategize, and we're going to win. So don't get tired. If you get tired, rest. But take care of each other. Take care of yourself, and we'll meet you on the battlefield. Stand up.
Now, I love Atlanta, but I am born and raised in Pittsburgh. Don't kill me. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Now, as a proud fan of the Steelers, I knew I loved you. I have to admit, it's not every day that I get to share the stage with someone who spent their career making life difficult for us. But today isn't about rivalries. It's about celebrating greatness, no matter what color jersey you wore. Our teams might not have always seemed eye to eye, but what unites any football fan, especially one that's a daughter of a former player like myself, is our love for the game, respect for players, and the appreciation of the hard work that it takes to succeed. This next guest exemplifies all of that and more. The former Atlanta Falcon has been involved with a plethora of organizations like the Georgia Council on Child Abuse, Atlanta United Way, Special Olympics, the National Football League Players Association, and the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Change, just to name a few. Please help me in welcoming Representative Dewey McClain.
Hello, how y'all doing? Can we rise up? Rise up! All right, that's what we do in Georgia. We rise up. We don't know anything about it. I am State Representative Dewey McClain. I am just Dewey McClain. I am just Dewey. And a lot of you all, it's just good to be home. I'd like to say thank you all very much. This is a great show. As our solicitor says, I look out there and say, this is what Georgia looks like. This is what Georgia is all about, and you should be that way. But normally when I come, they only told me I had 2 minutes, but the fact of it was, I followed Deborah Scott. I told her, I don't know what else I can say. I don't know if I can stand up. I don't know if I can holler loud. My friend Rita, she did a song. Thank you very much. I did, all I can say is that I know a few things. I know where communication comes. Who do you think communicates? CWA. Who communicates with every American? Is it Communication Workers of America? We got Communication Workers of America in this building? Well, let me know that you're in the building. I always say, who liked this city? If this city was being lit all up and all these lights, who does that? IBEW. Where's them IBEW brothers? I mean, hey, don't be, all I want y'all to know is that just think about what everything labor is involved in. You know, I know who moved this city and who moved this city? Who moved this city? ATU moves this city. Without ATU, this city would not move. And they know that. You know, this weekend we've got the championship games coming up. We got FIFA coming. We got the Super Bowl coming. Make them people pay. No, just kidding. You know, and then I think about who feeds this city? Where's UFCW? How do you think this city, the food and commercial, they make sure that you eat. They feed this city. So I want y'all to realize, just think about what I said, how I started this. Who are the people in labor? Okay? I think about our Aussie. Where do you think you get all the movies from, the entertainment from? Where are my Aussie folks? I mean, I'm only gonna do it, and I even saw the graphic workers here. So who do y'all think do all the printing? The Teamsters, you know, come on, 528, I mean, they do the graphics. So then I go to one thing, then I think about my thing. I'm the NFL PA. So I know I got my brothers in the back. Y'all stand up. Who do y'all think entertain y'all on Sunday? I know y'all think church is Sunday. I know y'all think the church is on Sunday, but you all know who owns Sunday. Who owns Sunday? The NFL. No, just kidding. The preacher be talking, you know, Mike, the preacher be talking, and all of a sudden they say, I gotta go. Preacher, you gotta wrap up. You gotta wrap up, preacher. Well, I also know who builds the best autos. Who built the best autos? They were all American made. Where's the UAW? Who built the best autos? I know they're here. And then I think about the airplanes and everything. Where are the machinists? I know I got some machinists somewhere. All right, machinists, I hear you. Well, I know who the y'all might be the machinists, but I know who they call the green machine. And that's got to be AFME. I know AFME's got to be in the house. I know the green machine's got to be in the house. But I know that. But you know, I didn't come, they only told me I had 1 minute, and I still got 59 seconds. So I just want you all to know that I know the Teamsters, and I know that the Amazon, where are the Amazon workers? Amazon workers, I want you to know we are 100% behind you, and we're going to do whatever we can to make sure, because we know without us, all the people that I just talked about, Amazon can't do what they do. So we know how to do things. So Amazon workers, just keep going, just keep walking. Because what we've got to do as a group, we all got to stick together. Because once they come for the Amazon workers, they're going to come for all the ones I just named. CWA, IBEW, IOC, AFME. So therefore, we need to all stick together. I have one other thing to say too, because I also believe that the flight attendants need a union too. Flight attendants, I know you all need a union. You know, I said, you know, I told them for years, you know, pilots got a union. They got a union. Hell, if it's good enough for them, I think it got to be good enough for me. So I just want you all to know that if I left anybody out, it's only because because I'm labor. I feel great at home because of where I am, because I'm with brothers and sisters. When I go to that demon dome, I'm not with brothers and sisters. And they telling me that I gotta go. When I was the president, I could talk all I want. Brothers and sisters, realize Monday is a day on, not a day off. It is a day on, not a day off. Thank you all for being here. And Madam President, thank you very much for allowing me this. And can I come back next year too? Thank you all.
would you guys join me again in giving our representative, Dewey McLean, a hand? He said all his notes were on a little card, but the little card had like 1,000 words or more. So thank you. We are nearing the end of our program, but we do have two key speakers. If you can stay, we really want you to be here for them. So the person that is next is going to give us a community address. We've known him for quite a while. I'm going to let our MC, our mistress of ceremony, do the formal introduction.
All I was going to say is I'm just so moved by this man that is coming up on stage. There is nobody that speaks like he does in a way that just takes everyone to their feet and their knees at the same time. He needs no introduction, in my opinion.
And I hear he might be starting a church after last year's Dr. Martin Luther King breakfast. So
please welcome Michael Thurman.
Good morning. Good morning, organized labor. Representative McLean did something. He called you out. He lifted you up. And I come really not just for all of your brothers and sisters across this state, across this nation, and across this world. I come also on behalf of unorganized labor to say thank you, because they got and we got holidays to go to. Thank you for the health insurance. Thank you for the worker rights. Thank you for building a middle class in America. Thank you for having the courage, the integrity, not to give up, not to give out, and not to give in. I come, a little bit different today. Yes, my candidate didn't get elected president. But I come to tell you something. I ain't no ways tired this morning. I come to say to you that yes, Mr. Trump is headed back to the White House. But I come to remind you that it doesn't matter who's in the White House, God is forever on his throne. I come to tell you, don't give up, don't give out, and don't give in. I come to remind you that truth crushed to the ground shall rise again. I come to remind you that the arc of the universe is long, but it always been towards justice. I come to remind you who may be disheartened, who may be disappointed, who may be downtrodden, that the darkness lasts just for the night, but joy always comes in the morning. I come to remind you who you are, and more importantly, who you belong to. We've come through some difficult days, but I come to tell you that difficulties don't last always. I look out this morning, and we of different racial, ethnic, and religious persuasions have gathered on common ground, under a common roof, for a common purpose. I come to say to you this morning that the PhDs and the no-Ds and the GEDs have gathered on common ground, under a common roof, for a common purpose. I come to remind you that all the saints, Brother Matt, and maybe one or two sinners have showed up here this morning. I come to say to you that Democrats and some Republicans have showed up this morning. And let me just say something. And let me stop my speech, because the sister said we got to strategize. All of us didn't vote for Vice President Harris in this room. Come on now, we family, right? In my family, we don't always disagree about nothing. We don't always agree about nothing, do we? Not all the time. Some of us voted for Vice President Harris, and some of us voted for former President Trump. Former President Trump received the most votes. Now, what we're going to do for those who voted for Vice President Harris, we're going to organize, we're going to mobilize, and we're going to get ready for 4 years from now. But in the meantime, there are families who are suffering without insurance as we speak. There are workers working for less than a decent wage. There are workers fighting for their rights as we speak. And while we are getting ready for the next 4 years, I want those who voted for Trump to go make him commit and live up to everything he promised us this year. He said he was for the working class. Well, he gonna have to appoint somebody other than billionaires to do something. And we need our brothers and sisters who voted for Trump to stand with us. Now y'all looking at me like, this little Negro crazy up here, but he ain't crazy. If I'm hungry, if I got a family I gotta feed, I can't wait for 4 years to get the job. I can't wait. If I'm sick and need health care today, I can't wait. So I'm asking my brothers and sisters who voted for Trump to go on our behalf and make sure the president lives up to what he promised us. He said that he was going to lower the price of groceries. Well, damn it, I want cheaper eggs. And I don't want to wait 4 years to get them. You owe it to us. And you know what? At the end of the day, we're going to stand united as organized labor, as advocates for the people. You know, sometimes you got to split up to get to where you're going. I don't mind, Bishop Fan, that if we split up, you go this way and I go that way, as long as we meet back up with what we need, then go do that. Now let me go to my speech. No, that's just hardcore politics, am I right? That's what corporate America does. They give to the Republicans and the Democrats. Coca-Cola, AT&T, Amazon, Meta, they give to both sides. You know why they give to both sides? Therefore, they don't ever lose. What we have to do is be smart enough to take our brothers and sisters who may see things different than us to sit down and strategize with us. We need health care. We need expanded Medicaid. If you know Brian Kemp, we need you to go talk to Brian Kemp. Don't just vote and walk away. You owe it to us. We love you anyway. We're going to love you before Election Day and after Election Day. But if you cast that vote We need you to stand with us now. I'm going to leave y'all with this. On April the 3rd, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King got on a plane at what was Hartsfield Airport. Sandy Williams, Rita Scott, Richard Ray. Dr. King got on a plane. And he got on that plane even though he had been warned, do not take this trip. There are death threats. There's violence. You're putting your reputation on the line. But Dr. King got on that plane destined for Memphis, Tennessee. And he flew up to Memphis on that morning, Helen Butler, not to go to a black tie ball. He wasn't going to receive an award. He wasn't going to a celebrity-filled social event. He got on a plane with death threats all around. He got on a plane and went to Memphis to help some sanitation workers who were marching, who were organized, who were labor union members. He went to help some sanitation workers, the greatest leader of the 20th century, ultimately went to Memphis, went to his death for sanitation workers. When he got up to Memphis, he ascended a prophetic mountaintop. He stood in Mason Temple Church, and with sweat propping from his brow and tears welled up in his eyes, he said that I've been to the mountaintop. And he said, I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. He said, I may not get there with you. I won't get there with you, Atlanta Labor Council. I won't get there with you, AFL-CIO. He said, I won't get there with you, transit workers. But he said, even if I don't get there, as a people, we will get there. And by the way, he didn't say you're going to get there unless the Republicans take over the House and the Senate. Didn't say that. He didn't say we're going to get there unless Trump gets reelected. Didn't say that. He said that as a people, and he didn't say black people, he said all people. As a people, we will get to the promised land. On that next evening, as he stood on a hotel balcony, a shot was fired, and a bullet went hurling through the air. It entered his skull and imploded his brain, severed his nervous system. And the Prince of Peace, standing on a hotel balcony, fell in a pool of his own blood. I was just a young child, but I remember on the black and white TV, the news broke that Martin Luther King Jr., the Prince of Peace, is dead. You know, I'm reminded, Bishop, that Dr. King, that was his other leader, just like King, who went up on a mountaintop. That was his other leader who looked over and saw a promised land. That was his other leader who died on the mountaintop and never set foot in the land that flowed with milk and honey. This other leader was named Moses, who just like King went up on the mountaintop, who saw the promised land, who knew that the Hebrews would get there, but died without ever setting foot into Canaan, the prophesied promised land of the Jews. But do me a favor today.
once the speeches have been spoken and the prayers have been prayed and the songs have been sung, when you get home this evening, I want you to read past Deuteronomy. Turn your Bibles to the book of Joshua. For it's written that shortly after Moses died, a young Hebrew named Joshua came forth, took up the mantle of leadership, led the Hebrews down from the mountaintop into Canaan, the promised land of the Jews. What I'm saying to you this afternoon, this morning, is that we must become the Joshuas of Georgia. What I'm saying to you, in your church, you got to be the Joshua in your church. In your neighborhood, you got to be the Joshua. In your house, you got to be the Joshua. You must lead this state, this nation, this city down from mountaintops of hopelessness, of despair and disappointment and hurt into our promised land that Dr. King saw for us. Now, I'm going to tell you something before you go running off in the valley. I'm told there are some giants in the valley. There are some giant gossipers in the valley. So if you're a steward, there's folk talking behind your back in the valley. If you're a union leader, there are people lying on you where? In the valley. There are some huge obstacles in the valley. There are some big-time drug dealers in the valley. If you got children, if you got a son, you got a daughter, there are some giant gangbangers in the valley. But it is written that if you will only have faith, the faith of your fathers and mothers who didn't have college degrees, the faith of your fathers and mothers, your grandmama and your granddaddies who couldn't read or write, if you will just have their faith, when it wasn't just a Trump in the White House, there were 9 Trumps on the Supreme Court. There were 50 Trumps in the U.S. Senate. There were 435 Trumps in the House of Representatives. But we did not give up. They couldn't read, they couldn't write, but they were a hell of a lot smarter than we are. It's important who's in the White House, but they knew more important than who's in the White House is who is running your house. That's what's most important. So what I'm saying to you today, if you will only have faith, don't get discouraged. Don't get downtrodden. I don't know why, but they say it just get darkest just before it turns to light. What I'm saying to you all today is that God is at work in Georgia, in America. Sometimes you think that something is bad, God will turn around and turn it into something good. So if you will only have faith, you don't have to fear nobody. Because you see, the Hebrews, they went into Canaan, and it was the Canaanites, and it was the Hittites. When you go march in the valley in Georgia, you're going to have some Republicanites, and you might have some MAGA-nites, and you may have some Trumpites. But what I come to tell you, if you will only have faith, you can walk through the valley in the shadows of death and fear no evil. You keep working. We're going to keep fighting. We will not give up. We will not give in. And let me tell you something. We're going to fight and fight and fight. The last breath I take will be a breath I took in the fight. I may not always win the fight, but I damn sure I'm going to be in that fight.
All right, I told you it'd be like going to church. I think we heard Matthew 17th chapter, 20th verse, faith of a mustard seed can move mountains. Thank you, Michael Thurman.
Again, I have the pride of being a member of SAG-AFTRA and AEA, and I know firsthand the power of unions in protecting workers, amplifying voices, and building stronger communities. Today, we are fortunate to have with us someone who embodies the heart and soul of that mission. As the International President of Association of Flight Attendants, Communication Workers of America, AFL-CIO Sarah Nelson is not just an advocate, she is a force of nature. With passion, courage, and relentless dedication, Sarah has fought for fair wages, safe working conditions, and the dignity that every worker deserves. Her leadership reminds us why unions matter and why solidarity remains our greatest strength. So if I could ask all members of the Association of Flight Attendants, Communication Workers of America, to please stand. Thank you all for being here. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming the dynamic and wonderful Sarah Nelson.
Thank you, Margot. Appreciate that so much. It is so good to be here with Union family. Teamsters, thank you for giving us this hall to join together here this morning. And I am so proud to represent my union, the Association of Flight Attendants, CWA. We are aviation's first responders in the last line of defense, and it's wonderful to be here with my union family and joined by our AFA International Vice President, Katura Johnson, one of our nation's combat veterans and proud queer women of color who can call to attention 1,000 armies through her conviction and strength to fight for working people or anyone who is marginalized. Thank you, Katura. And thank you to my sister, Sandra Lee Williams, and my brother, Eric Richardson, for inviting me here today, along with the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council for humbling me with this invitation and to honor the legacy of Dr. King. We are together because he called us together. He called on us to come together with the fierce urgency of now to fight for justice. Our calling is now. And I like to think of Martin Luther King Jr. as a labor leader, one of the greatest labor leaders of the working class. Through his civil rights work, Dr. King sought to lift up hardworking people who, regardless of effort and sweat they expended in their jobs, were mired in poverty. Not a transient poverty, but a systemic and transgenerational poverty from which most could never expect to escape, and whose government furthered and exacerbated it with cruel economic policies driven by racial and gender hatred that hurts all of us. The American dream is often described as the belief that through hard work and dedication, our children will be better off than their parents, generation after generation. But for most of the working class, and particularly for working class African Americans, that was not true. In order to solve problems, we must define them. We do not organize because all is well. We organize because capitalism cares nothing for any of us, and because it is harder to live the way things are than the hard work we must do to change it. When Dr. King took the national stage, poverty was commonplace. But through the truth he told us, we all face that horrible phrase, the working poor. Dr. King was among the first to see and to preach the interconnectedness of civil rights and economic justice. He knew that without ultimately lifting people out of poverty, the achievements of the civil rights movement would be incomplete. He knew that the right to put food on the table was just as important as the right to vote. He knew that the right to sit at a lunch counter would be meaningless to the working poor who could not afford to buy that lunch. In his fight for civil rights and economic justice, Dr. King, the labor leader, expertly invoked many of the tactics of the labor movement. He led boycotts and sit-ins. He held marches and rallies, and he walked on picket lines. He organized whole communities of working people to demand change. He built coalitions with religious and community groups. Most of all, he mobilized people to make demands and create change through direct action. Nonviolent direct action. Few labor leaders have ever employed these tactics more effectively or achieved more far-reaching results than Dr. King did. He fought on his terms, refusing to bend to the violence of hate. When we choose to fight on our terms, we can win. When our union, a union formed by women and run by women, found that the corporate class was going to try to replace us immediately overnight, like Carl Icahn did in 1989 with the TWA strikers, we decided it was time to fight on our terms. And we put together the chaos strike, create havoc around our system, where we did not announce where or when we would strike, but with just 7 strikes, we brought management to their knees and a 60% raise for the flight attendants. When COVID hit, we did not say that we want to have a few labor provisions on the side. We said that the relief was going to be workers' first relief, to keep aviation workers in our jobs, continuing to get a paycheck, connected to our health care, retirement contributions, paying our local taxes to support our public sector sisters and brothers. And also that the executives would have to cap their pay and ban stock buybacks. It was the only industry not to grow in inequality because labor led and set the agenda, and we should do that every single time. We got to flip the script. You know, I think about that for the last 50 years, the corporate elite has been telling us we should feel lucky to have a job. It is our job now to make sure they feel damn lucky to have our work. I was a 5-year flight attendant when September 11th hit. It was my friends who died on Flight 175. Amy, Michael, Amy, Al, Robert, Alicia, Catherine, Marianne, and Jesus. I know the exact minute they died, and so do all of you, because Flight 175 hit the South Tower of the World Trade Center 17 minutes after Flight 11 of American Airlines hit the North Tower. All cameras were trained on that site. But it was the crisis capitalists that while we were trying to grapple with this incredible grief of losing our friends, having our profession change forever, go into bankruptcies that stripped us of our pensions, made us work longer days for less pay. It was the crisis capitalists who were planning from that first very day to redefine the value of a flight attendant, a pilot, a mechanic, to outsource the baggage handlers and the kitchens in order to undercut their work. And so when we said never forget to each other, that was never forget, not about the lie that they told us that we needed to go fight a war so that we could get cheaper oil, but never forget was about making sure that my friends, my good friends, who any of us would want to be like, are not used, their death is not used to further exploit the working class. We vowed to never forget our heroes, but we also vowed that we would honor them with our actions, not only through our work for safer skies, but in the way that we contribute to our communities at home and those that we visit around the world. There are no borders in the labor movement. An injury to one is an injury to all. Dr. King fought on his terms with nonviolence, never allowing anyone to define who he was or what our movement was. And because he fought on those terms, they couldn't take that power, and they wanted to strike it down. The March on Washington was billed as a march for jobs and freedom, not just freedom, because freedom was a safe and well-paying job, because without a safe and well-paying job, we do not have true freedom. Freedom means to afford adequate housing, and without it, it is not true freedom. Freedom without health care is not true freedom. Without retirement security is not true freedom. Freedom without the right to demand your boss meet you at the table, regardless of the work that you do, the color of your skin, the gender qualities you express, or the people that you love. In his letter from Birmingham jail, Dr. King responded to the same types of criticism, often aimed at our labor unions when we demand more for the workers we represent. His critics said, "Your tactics are too harsh." They urged him to give Birmingham civic leaders more time, and they ignored the urgent problems underlying the protest, focusing instead on Dr. King's tactics. Every labor leader who has ever mobilized workers in support of a new union contract has heard those same predictable criticisms. Management and their supporters always think we demand too much. They always think we want it too soon, that our tactics are too harsh. Just give us another chance, they say, seldom intending to address our core demands in a meaningful way. One by one, Dr. King, the labor leader, dismantled those criticisms in his elegant letter from jail, articulating the urgency and necessity of his tactics and the righteousness of his demands. Dr. King said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. In labor, we say an injury to one is an injury to all. This concept of solidarity applies across all lines and might normally divide us by race, by gender, by national origin, by religion, you name it. The boss has used those labels to divide us for hundreds of years, to pit workers against one another as a means of control and to suppress wages. Segregation, the Palmer raids, the Red Scare, and the police dogs and fire hoses used against civil rights activists. It's all part of the same larger fight. Wealthy white oligarchs and capitalists trying to keep our people down by any means necessary for fear that the working class will unite. They divide us to keep us down and to avoid a real and meaningful showdown between capital and labor. Capitalists care about one thing: money. And unless we unite to stand up for the working class, they won't stop until they have all the money. What transcends that kind of exploitation is class consciousness. If we can instill in working people a sense of working class solidarity, no challenge is too great for us to overcome. Because solidarity is a force stronger than gravity. It lifts us up. So what are we waiting for? Despite some temporary gains in post-war period, income inequality is now at record levels. Earlier this week, President Biden warned us that the country is at risk of a rising oligarchy, drawing comparisons to the robber barons of the Gilded Age who hoarded money as working people lived through grinding poverty. This week, Goldman Sachs announced a quarterly profit of over $4 billion, even as 3 of the richest people in the world plan to be on the stage with the president-elect for his inauguration. Be clear about who is becoming president of the United States. The system is rigged against working people so that every positive jobs report is met with scorn by capitalists and a sharp drop in the hollowed stock market. You know that? Do you ever watch that? When they announce layoffs, stocks rise. When they announce that labor has full employment, stocks fall. It should be the other way around, and we need to take charge. Meanwhile, the tech industry complex is speeding us into a future where artificial intelligence is expected to replace up to 85 million jobs by the end of this year, and hundreds of millions more in the near future. Now, let's be very clear. During the stand-up strike, when the UAW had the 32-hour work week on the table once again, that had not been on the table since the PATCO strikers were fired by President Reagan in 1981, we have had some advancements. We have had some advancements because working people and our creative nature and our innovation and our hard work has made those advancements possible. That needs to go in our pockets too. It's a 20-hour week, not a 32-hour week. And there's plenty of jobs to go around then. The oligarchs have no intention to share the savings from AI with the workers who are displaced by it and who are creating it. It's up to all of us, the working class, to demand our fair share of that dividend and to make sure that it doesn't just go into the pockets of the oligarchs. The insidious attacks on working people don't end in the workplace. Voting rights are under attack, fair housing is under attack, public education is under attack, and the rights of women to decide what we do in our own lives is under attack. And make no mistake, as union organizers in this room, we know what it means when the company takes half of the people off the table. We have to stand up for women if we want to stand up for the working class. The insidious attacks do not end in the workplace, as we said. In the workplace, we're forced to refight battles we won 100 or 50 years ago. The 8-hour day is under attack. Overtime rules are on the chopping block. The very existence of the National Labor Relations Board is being challenged by those same oligarchs. Perhaps the most alarming trend is the effort by the right to roll back child labor laws. Nearly 30 states have introduced or adopted legislation reducing protections against child labor. The oligarchs don't care about anything but money, not even children. If all child labor protections were repealed on a Friday, there would be children back in the coal mines on Monday morning. This cannot be allowed to stand, and it's up to the working class, all of us, to fight it. So like Dr. King, we are all painfully aware that our work is never done. Dr. King talked of one day reaching the promised land, achieving true freedom and economic justice. In retrospect, when he added, "I may not get there with you," we all now worry it was prophetic, knowing there were forces aligned against him who wanted him dead. But I like to think of that statement as exhorting all of us to carry on the struggle. He knew that despite the many life-changing accomplishments of the civil rights movement, true freedom, true equality, and true economic justice were still a long way off. He knew that generations of struggle still laid ahead, and that no one person could live long enough to see it through. As Professor Eddie Glaude Jr. has said, we are the leaders we have been looking for. So when Dr. King said, "I may not get there with you," it was not said in resignation. No, no, no. I believe those words mean to invoke all of us, our duty to carry on the fight. No one leader, even as great as Dr. King, can be the sole engine that the movement for jobs and justice needs. He was aware of his own mortality, and he sought to deputize all of us to carry on long after he was gone. And while we all remember him and wish he were still here among us, we can never simply shrug and walk away from this fight because he's gone. We must carry on the fight for jobs and freedom and for all working people. We must grapple with the fact that our nation has an ugly history that we will repeat until we own it and seek with every ounce of our beings to correct it. We must stand up to the oligarchs and stand up for our democracy. And our children and grandchildren must carry on the fight in their time. Decades from now, when we're still striving to reach for the promised land, future generations will look back and honor Dr. King for showing us the way. I stood in Miss Muldoon's classroom as a kindergarten student, with my hand over my heart every single morning, saying that Pledge of Allegiance and looking around at the other 5-year-olds as we ended that pledge with liberty and justice for all. I think about that as the worker who suddenly sees the reality of the boss's tactic to lift up an individual to fight for the company rather than the people who make it what it is. Becky Lay is a Delta flight attendant who fought for the company and against the union for years. But when she saw that the company was using her to keep her fellow flying partners down, she woke up, and now she is spending every single day, even through cancer treatments, to fight for a union for her flying partners. And with that kind of love in your body, there is no room for cancer, and Becky is cancer-free. We have to free ourselves from the lie today's robber barons try to tell us. Freedom is in the power to collectively bargain. An injury to one is an injury to all. And a collective win in one warehouse, coffee house, or aircraft cabin is a win for all of us. Dr. King said, their destiny is tied up with our destiny. We cannot walk alone. Today, people are bracing for what's next. Today, people are starving for the kind of leadership that we need, the kind of leadership that Dr. King gave us. We've believed we've never been so divided. The country sees no solution in sight, but labor can lead the way. Dr. King rallied us by reaching for the mountaintop. He didn't seek integration of just one school. He sought freedom in our schools for all children. He didn't seek integration of just one lunch counter. He aspired to have all of us sit down together at the table of brotherhood and sisterhood, Dr. King. Today, people are starving for this kind of leadership. They are hungry for answers where some would say there are none. Through our labor movement, we have the answers for them, and together we can lead the way. We need to follow Dr. King's lead and think big. Think big like the hotel workers who took on the largest hotel chain in the world and won. Think big like the Starbucks baristas who sparked a national movement from 3 stores in Buffalo and defined clearly that all work is dignified, meaningful, and more powerful than a billionaire who wants to call us partner while sharing with us none of the value we create. Think big, like the Amazon workers from Bessemer to Staten Island who took on Goliath as he built his rocket ship. But through our solidarity, even those who believe they are untouchable must answer to working people on the earth that belongs to us. Think big, like the Delta flight attendants and ground workers who are organizing nearly 50,000 workers across the nation without the ability to use electronic authorization cards or call for an election, with less than half of all of those workers signing physical cards in 1 year. No election this size has ever been called or won under the Railway Labor Act. But now is the moment to declare dignity and power for working people right here in Atlanta. Dr. King said, with this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together. We can do this together. Si se puede. Every gender, race, culture, and creed, the American labor movement, we have the power. And to all Americans, we have your back.
Sarah, we can't thank you enough. We are so proud to have you here with us today, and all of you that have been here. We just had a couple of announcements, but the first one, again, is to really, truly thank you from the bottom of my heart to see this room filled with labor supporters, our community partners.
I know that everybody's dropping like flies out there. I just wanted to thank everybody so much for being here this morning. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody. I wish everyone a healthy and happy new year and a safe weekend ahead.